Mandate.
Hey, welcome to the Mandate Show, where nothing is off the table. Obviously, we're not around the table at the moment because of due to lockdown and COVID. And so we're here online on Zoom, which is the next best thing. And so we're very excited to have on the show tonight a very special guest. I think we're in for a real treat tonight. And so he is a very astute man, and he is a New Zealand politician who is an Auckland councillor of Samoan and Tokelauan descent. He was raised in the Promised Land, also known to us as the home of the brave, better known to Tamaki Makaurau as Otara, and he is the youngest of 6 children. He is married to the lovely Fia Collins and has 2 daughters, carries a Samoan Matai title of Whaanana from the village of Satufia, Satupaitea and Savai. And he studied at the University of Auckland, gaining a Bachelor of Education and later a Master of Education. He also served as the first Polynesian Auckland University Students Association President. Malo also i fōmo malangi i mama. Malo ni, ulutonu mai, e whakawhiloiaki atu. Welcome to Whaanana, Efeso Collins. Thank you for being on the show also.
Oh, thanks, Tia Malo. So Foreman, we are Malangi Mama. Good to be on your show today with Charles and yourself, and look forward to a good time having a good chat.
No, awesome. No, thank you so much. Just straight off the bat, because I know we're in lockdown. I know this is the 5th time in Auckland or 5th time in New Zealand that we're on lockdown, level 4. Just very quickly, just what's it been like for you thus far in terms of, and I'm not asking from a physical aspect or work-wise, but what's it been like for you mentally this time around in terms of lockdown also?
I've really enjoyed the lockdown. It's been good for us. I got a young family. Last lockdown we had baby, and then a month later we were into the full lockdown, and here we are again. And it's good to be able to hang out at home. I'm not sure that my wife's been enjoying having a 3rd child in the house because I'm just as demanding as the 17-month-old. But it's cool to be here. And I think it's really important, that we get the chance to spend time with our families. And given sometimes in my role where I'm not ever home, it's cool to be home, and they're amazing for my own kind of mental well-being. I get to hang out with them, and they make a whole lot of noise, and they're cool, and I make just as much noise. So yeah, been good, but I understand that everyone responds to lockdown really differently, and I hope that everyone else, I hope you guys are doing all right, because it's one thing being in lockdown, and then when you add the other kind of things going on with the kids being around, cooking, not having any McDonald's or Burger King for a while, that has an impact on us as well. But otherwise, really good. Thanks, bro.
No, awesome. Good to hear that. And for the viewers who are watching, for the men who are watching, they probably don't know who you are. If they don't know who you are, they're probably living under a rock. So you've been over the media, all over the place. You've been on TVNZ, RNZ. You've been on Tangata Pasifika. You've been on the morning show, the breakfast show. All over the place also. And so if you could please give us, or those who don't know who you are, please tell us a little bit about your formative years. What are some of the things before your journey, before you becoming a politician? What were some of the things that kind of shaped you or influenced you kind of growing up also?
Yeah, probably a few things, bro. We grew up in Otara. Dad was e whakaasa, mum was Methodist, Samoan Methodist. And then early on, Dad had an accident, and it was kind of for my brothers and sisters who tell me about it, they often say it was a life-changing experience for my father. And as a result of that, when he got out of hospital, he spent months in hospital. And when he got out of it, he went along to a Barry Smith meeting. I don't know if your people watching have heard of Barry Smith, but this is going back a long time. And Dad gave his heart to the Lord at a Barry Smith meeting. Then we started going to the Apostolic Church on the corner of Beards and Preston Road in Otara. I think it was about that time that, because faith and its meaning had changed for Dad, then we were all going along too. Like you said in your introduction, I'm the youngest of 6 children. And so I had a kind of a privileged life because the youngest gets to go to Samoa whenever mum and dad were there. And so I got the best of both worlds. And for a little while, I was raised in Samoa with my grandparents, while dad and mum were doing things in and out of Samoa. So I got to spend a bit of time in Samoa, schooled there for a bit. And then when we were in New Zealand, came straight back into school here. So the formative years were good. I remember that mum and dad worked really hard. They tried really hard. Mum worked in a factory New Zealand Forest Products for a long time, and Dad was a taxi driver for many years. And then Dad went on to pastor with Emmanuel Christian Fellowship, which is kind of a branch of AOG, and he did that for about 5 years. So I was the youngest, so always around my parents. And anyone who knows our family will know I was the good child of all our family. The others all went wayward, backslid, did everything, and then came back to the Lord. So you see, and then one of us, I was like the eldest child and prodigal son, saying, you know, Lord, you've never ever celebrated for me like this. But yeah, so cool upbringing, and very sheltered to some degree. But I'm really grateful for the upbringing I had. And I guess the things that I remember most are Mum and Dad working hard, the pressures to get money back to Samoa. That was always something that I remember well. And just moving from state house to state house, and I think I was maybe in my 20s before we bought a house. So those are some of the experiences that come to mind that probably shaped a lot of the way I think today and the way I express perhaps my faith and the things that are important to me.
Wow, that's awesome. Also, wow, in terms of like, because now you're a politician now, and so when I think about you being a politician and all the things that you've talked about, kind of building up to that, you as the man now, who you are now, was politics always something that you envisioned? Was that something that was always in the back of your mind, as like after doing your master's, your Bachelor of Education and your master's? Was that something like, you know what, I want to get into politics? Or was that something that kind of like just kind of by chance? Or was it just something you just kind of happened?
Yeah, I think it probably grew on me, bro? Dad was, you know, when your dad's a preacher, public speaking was normal. I remember when my father used to, remember, youngest of 6, and Dad would just stop at different places, and he was a muso and all of that stuff. And he would get out with his guitar, and all of us would get out of the car, and he would say, right, tell everyone your testimony. So we would just get out onto some side street anywhere in Auckland, and we'd start doing these street ministry things. And so that was how we were raised. Was we were just ready, the old RFA. I don't know anyone who's been involved in church, that ready for anything. I tell you, my father was get out there, sing a song, and tell people how Jesus loves them. And so the public speaking was always in the foremost of perhaps our experience. And with love for my dad was always in trouble, bro. He often did things that were a little bit on the edges. And I remember, this is going back 30, 40 years. Dad encouraged Whawhine to be part of our praise and worship band. And, you think about what the Samoan AOG movement was like maybe 30 odd years ago. That's probably not normal. But Dad's theology was all around, my job is to help them understand what Jesus has done for them, understand the work of the cross. They have to respond to God. And if getting them to sing the odd song or play the keys in the background, given all the makeup turning up to church, and then it was important for Dad to feel like, well, they had a place of expression of faith. So politics was really just an extension of what I was raised with, the public speaking, being ready for anything, and being able to give an account on the spot. And it's one of the things that I look at now. I think, actually the way Dad kind of raised us, we had a really supportive mum. My poor mum, I think, oh gosh, how do you put up with a man like this? And what's really funny too is I look back now, my dad and I had when I was at university and stuff, Dad and I had major theological differences in the way we interpreted the Bible. And I look back now and I think I'm so much like my father. I'm constantly in trouble. I'm constantly saying things that perhaps are pushing the border or the envelope a little bit. And I'm okay with being in the public spotlight. I think there's a lot of people who would love to be on TV, and there are people who just want to be famous. The fame in that has no bearing on me. I couldn't care less what I'm doing. I just enjoy it because I think it's a part of who I am. And whether I'm doing an interview on TV or chilling with you guys, I think the Lord gives us the real opportunities to talk about who we are and let everyone know that just because, I've been on TV a couple of times, it doesn't make me any different from anyone else. As long as I'm doing my best to express the gifts that I have in a way that's humble and godly and friendly, because and advocates for people. Because if this was all about me, honestly, bro, I would just try and make money out of this stuff. But I'm not wealthy, so that hasn't worked either.
Man, kudos to you. So yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right in terms of what you said about your father, kind of RFA, ready for anything. And I can imagine your father saying, "Hey, just get up," like you're saying, get up and do praise and worship, go up there and preach, just off the cuff, and just do this on the side of the streets. And it's true, and you're absolutely right. I can imagine if that's what you got from your father, you learned from your father in terms of public speaking and being witty, because you are, for me personally, and for Charles, you're very witty, very just on the spot. You know, you can talk, and it's like, man, this guy has a gift, or the gift of the gab. You know, you really have the gift of the gab. But the thing is, the difference is, you don't have the gift of the gab just to say anything. And people have the gift of the gab and say nonsense. But you have the gift of the gab, and you say a lot of substance. You talk a lot of substance. So also, when you're talking about your dad, and I can't help but think in terms of, because I want to ask you, in terms of inspiration, who are the people who inspired you? But it kind of feels like that dad was a big part of your inspiration, or mom. But also, so who were the people that kind of really, besides, because I'm gauging it was dad or mom, but who is that true? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I've talked a lot about my dad tonight, and on reflection, bro, it was my father. The truth is, me and dad, as I was saying, we had theological differences, and we probably didn't get on that well. We had a very civil connection, but I didn't realize that perhaps what we were backing up against was we were so similar. And maybe now when I look back, and it's been good, I guess it's been hard for me because my dad died 12 years ago, and I go to the grave often, and I often think, man, Dad, had I just taken the time to be a bit more patient and to listen a little bit better, maybe I would have heard more of your heart. But I was young, in my 20s. I was at university. I thought I knew everything in the world, and I didn't realize that I didn't. I'm not actually as clever as I think. So for me, Dad, the fact that he was so patient with me and allowed me, because he's still someone too, and that 20 odd years ago, you don't have these kind of conversations with your father, and he doesn't just get up and give you a hiding for being boss. But Dad allowed me the space to kind of reflect on what we were talking about. So Dad definitely, and then there are men in my life. When later on, Dad allowed us to go to the churches of our choosing, and I've had men who've been really key in my life. I don't know if I'm allowed to name them. There's a lovely Palangi man who used to teach at our church named Ken Edwards. Oh, I tell you, he was marvelous. He would lead our Bible study, had such a knowledge of the scripture, which I really appreciated, and would always open up to us. And maybe another person that springs to mind is Dr. Robert Siaki Motu. And Robert used to come to our church all the time. Niuean man lives in Mangeli. And he always oversees preaching the gospel. But whenever he was in town, he'd always make time for us and talk to us and encourage us to keep doing our best to live out perhaps the call of God on our lives. So those are the people who've been really inspirational, but they've done things where they've taken time out for people like me. Because to be honest, bro, I grew up thinking I wasn't that important, that people didn't have a lot of time for me. And so the fact that these men had time for me, and they're important men, they're running churches and all overseas, but the fact that they showed interest in my life meant that it was possible to be mentored. And so those are the people that stick out as inspiration.
Man, awesome. Hey, Charles, you want to say it? You want to got any questions, Charles?
Yeah. Just I'm really interested in that dynamic between you and your father, and the one that you had, and then sort of on reflection, he influenced you a lot, and wishing you had that time. How has that reflection, and also the way you were brought up, affected your fatherhood towards your children?
Yeah, but probably I try my best to listen. And maybe I'm in a different generation, Charles, where we allow the children to have a say. My girls are only young, so once they hit the teenage years, it might change, and then we might get into we'll practice our boxing on each other.
Hey, you're gonna end up like this, bro.
I knew my hair was. Yeah. Well, maybe I'll turn the question on you, Charles. I think it's. Remember, I was the youngest, and I looked at my older brothers, and I was trying to observe their relationship with Dad. And look, I don't want to talk ill of those experiences, but I know that my dad had challenges too when we were growing up. And so I think even my brothers had challenging experiences with my father, just about how present he was. In the old days, I'm told, I didn't see it. I'm told Dad used to be a heavy drinker and was abusive. And I didn't know that side of my father. I was really little. And so observing the relationship that my brothers had, both with him and then with their families, has been something where I've learned a lot, and I've tried to think about what their journey has been. But for me, it's having time, it's trying to be a husband who cares deeply about my wife and understanding that she's got needs too, and that this is a partnership that we're in together. And I acknowledge that it's hard on her in my role, because my role is really public. And she's the good Samoan person, and what we're like, the wife has to just nod along, and people are going critical crazy on us, and we're trying our best to be respectful. So I hope that it's made me a present dad, a dad who's caring, a dad who's prepared to listen to what they have to say, but also a dad who wants to make the Bible very central, very core in our family, because it's important to both me and Fia, my wife, that our kids have an experience and an exposure to God. And yet one day they're going to have to make decisions about their relationship with the Lord on their own. We're not going to be around to structure it the way we can today, but I want our home to be safe, to be honest, but one where the Bible and prayer is really central in their lives, because one day I won't be here, and I hope that those things will stand strong with them. So I hope it's useful. I'm early on. There's dads who've been around a lot longer than me might say, yeah, just once they're teenagers, we'll interview you again in a few years.
You're doing an awesome job. Also, that sounds mean, and especially for someone with the work that you do, it's not easy. It's almost like you're pastoring the whole city, and you know what pastor life is like, and being a PK, that'll be tough. So it's cool hearing you the way you navigate through all that. It's awesome. Sure, also.
Yeah, so spot on, man. So true. So, because just you don't want to forget to kind of talk about your career in terms of politics, Efeso. And it's so cool because the good thing about it, the great thing about it, in terms of seeing a lot of brown faces, or like even Tangata Whenua and Pasifika people and caucus, and a lot of politicians now. And so, and the thing is, and you're still quite young, and there's a long way to go in terms of your political career. And so it's just looking for some stats and some facts. And so in 2013, you were elected to the Otara Papatoetoe local board. You became chairperson. Man, awesome. 2014, contested for the Manukau East seat. And in 2016, this is really cool. 2016, you were elected to the Auckland Council, and you replaced obviously Arthur Anai, and you were sworn in as councillor for the Manukau ward on the 1st of November. To tell us, can you kind of walk us through that, also in terms of what was it like? What, in terms of how did you feel, and what was it like to achieve those goals in your political career thus far? And so what was it like for you being sworn in? So just if you could describe to us, or just give us a bit of a story on how it felt in terms of achieving that goal, or those goals.
Yeah, cool, man. It was really special, bro. Like as I was saying, the public stuff is really just part of the function. But I looked at how our parents responded to or reacted to that. And I almost think, yeah, that was more for them. It reminded me of when I graduated from university. Hey, my mum and dad were more excited than I was. Mind you, it took me way too long to finish my degree. Your wife will know that. I'm sure your wife's probably thinking, yeah, man, I'm surprised that guy got through university. He was just there to eat his lunch and see what he could do. But there's special moments because perhaps we get to a point in our lives where we recognize we're carrying this for our parents, for their generation, and their desires and aspirations in coming to New Zealand in the first place. Getting elected to councillor was beautiful, but that particular experience was marred slightly because we brought everyone to the town hall and we were told, oh yeah, your family can sit up here in the VIP section. And then we get there and then they denied my family access to the VIP section. And this was a story that was really well highlighted. But I think it was a really timely reminder that things in our country hadn't shifted. And one of the things I've talked about a lot is unconscious bias and racism and prejudice. But for that to happen to my family on a day where we were celebrating the achievement was a stark reminder of how much the city and the nation needed to move, and perhaps the role we as a family would play in facilitating a discussion for the city so that we could be honest about the way we saw things. And so it was a beautiful day. It was special for my family, but hard for my wife and the family members who found out later when they were told, no, you can't sit here, go to the back of the bus. And that's just kind of our reality. And now that I've been on council a little while, slowly people who didn't believe that happened are now wanting to talk about those issues. Because you see big movements now like Black Lives Matter, all of that stuff, climate change, all of that stuff's at the forefront of how we're thinking. And it's almost made people think, well, maybe what Efeso and this family experienced was true. Maybe that did happen. So it's good. It's a good experience that we can reflect on it and we can say, yeah, those things are hurtful and humiliating, but that's all right. We're going to journey on this together. Everyone has something to learn. I've got heaps to learn, and we're willing to go on the journey together. And perhaps the challenge that we have is we live very public lives. Our lives are constantly being scrutinized by the media, by the public, by the voters. And it's important for us that what we say we do and that the lives that we live are consistent as much as possible with the things that we believe. So yeah, those are experiences that I'll remember forever. And at the most recent inauguration, I got to sing with my eldest girl, and we sang, I'm not trying to remember the song, we sang a Samoan chorus together once I'd been sworn in. And I think little things like that show the city that, yeah, there is a different approach. And there is that man up there with us, I think Kapariela was 6 or 5 at the time when I was sworn in. It was really special for us that I could go on stage with my girl and hopefully an example to her that she can achieve just as much too. And she might not want to go into politics. I hope she doesn't. But if she ends up in politics, she can say, this is familiar territory too. And so, yeah, I hope that it's brought pride to my family in the sense that it's made the journey of giving up the beauty and the comfort of Samoa worth the travel.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. So that's pretty deep. A lot of men who will be watching this if will be like, oh man, so he's in politics, man, he's doing amazing things, amazing feats. You've accomplished amazing feats. But in terms of refinement, and I think what did you have to do in terms of like were there major changes that you had to make in terms of to where you are right now? Were there minor or major improvements or changes that you had to, like, refining your skill set? What were some of the things that you had to refine to become or to get to where you are right now? What were some of the things?
A couple of things come to mind, bro. One of them is the way I frame how I say things. I was very quick. I talked a bit about how when my conversations with Dad, and I was really quick. And sometimes when you're quick and you react or you're just quick off the mark, it can come across really strong, or it can have a particular kind of cut or a bite to it. And so I've had to work carefully on thinking about what the receiver is getting when I speak. And my dad, funnily, used to always say, oh, you know what, he used to remember that there's a parable about the gifts, say 1, 5, 1 gift, 5 gifts, and 10. And Dad used to say to me, and like, I've just got the one talent and it's talking. And so I was thinking, Well, I better hone it. I better work on it because, you know, my rugby was terrible. Played lock once and they said, mate, get off, you're useless. So I think it came down to honing it. And part of honing it was being aware that as a person who spoke a lot, I needed to think about how people receive information, how they receive messages. And so I think that's one thing that I've tried to refine. I think I grew up quite a judgmental person as well, and maybe there was just there's a sharp edge to me, and maybe it was because I grew up during a time theologically where we were very clear, and where the preaching was all about, you know, the sinner will go to hell, and all of that life, whatever you're doing, will just result sin equals hell. And whilst there's probably some scriptural truth to that, I think there's ways that we can offer that message that's not just going to put us at odds with people and it shuts us off. It's so framing, refining that stuff, trying to be fit. Honestly, that's why lockdown's no good, because all I've been doing is eating and baking, and I think I've put on like half a kilo now. Like I'm 20. But yeah, so I try and stay active, and I've got young kids, man, and so I've got to be as fit as possible, because once they take off across the road, you know, I can't just yell out and they turn around, they go for it. So those are some of the things that I've really tried to work on. And maybe one thing that's been key on my mind is how I engage with people I don't normally hang out with. And I try really hard to think about, you know, who's my circle of boys that I always hang out with, and then who's beyond that I don't kind of connect a lot with, and how would I get to know people from perhaps other churches or other religions, or have a different belief set or political set to them. So I'm interested in how people see the world. So I think that's some of the stuff that's helped to
Cool. So, Lisa, anything else you want to add into those?
Yeah, just not in terms of refinement, but like, because, you know, you grew up in the hood, the home of the brave. There's sort of a lot of different influences that we have, and we live to coincide with one another. And, you know, you can go either way. You can live a certain life, or you can try to choose to like really excel in bringing our people up. And so I'm just really interested in what was the turning point for you in terms of like, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to be a voice for my people. Like, what was it that you saw that you wanted to be part of that change? Was it just you knew you had a gift of gab and you wanted to be involved in politics, or did people push you into that arena?
When I went to university, one of the first classes I went to was looking at how well we did in education, and it just gave us a snapshot. And we were talking about it in one of the tutorials. And I remember a guy got up and said the reason why brown people, Pacific Islanders from South Auckland, don't get to university is because they're dumb. I remember sitting there in a group of about 18, 20 of us. It was good the tutor went bananas on it. But I remember sitting there thinking, you know, there were people who agreed with what this person said. And I went, gosh, what a weird world. Like, do people like this exist? And I think there was a part of me that wanted to stand up and go lay hands on him like a good Christian would. And then I stopped to think, so I wonder if other people believe this. And the more I got involved in the university life, the more I realized that people did hit life differently. Hey, we all had a really different perspective on life. And so it was my university years that challenged me to maybe get involved in ways where I could influence some change. And that's when at university, I got involved in student politics. And Petia was talking about how I was the president of the Students' Association. All of that was political involvement. And it was just about saying, I guess what I was driven by was I just wanted to say this was our experience, that this was what it was like for me growing up in Otara as a Samoan, the youngest child. And when I wrote my master's dissertation, I wrote it on brown flight And brown flight was the phenomenon at the time where people like me, so it was a reflection on my experience. I went to Ferguson Intermediate in Otara, and at the end of Ferguson, I was told, Efeso, kids with a brain don't go to school in Otara, they go to school outside. So I applied to, because, you know, we're good, humble Samoans. Whatever your Palangi teacher says, you just follow suit. So I applied for schools outside of the area. And of all this, I think I applied for 5 schools. I got rejected by 4 of them. Now, this is including like Manurewa High School, Otahu College. All of those schools rejected me. Yeah, and they're stink schools anyway. But the one school that took, I was in zone for Tangarua, but the one school that took me out of all these schools, and I nearly had a heart attack when I got the letter, was Auckland Boys. And Auckland Boys, I'd gone in, done the interview, they took me. And then the end of that story is I only lasted 2 weeks at Graham, and it was too much for me. And so I ended up just going to TC and saying, no, this is too big a cultural shift. I wasn't ready. I didn't feel like I was at that stage in my life where I could handle being out of zone. And so went to Tangaroa and loved it at TC. But I think those experiences made me realize or reflect now that the world is different for everyone. And so I thought it was important that politics was just one avenue to give voice to a different experience. And I loved it. And I'm enjoying it now. When I finished university, I didn't do politics. I got out of politics straight away. Once student politics, I was away from that stuff for years and did research on youth gangs and that kind of thing. So it was really different.
Yeah, because I remember the time I think you had started something. Didn't you start like you had camps? I think you were doing like youth camps. Was it you? Yeah, I remember you do that kind of stuff, which is cool. And it just kind of, like you were saying, it just kind of paved the way more so into the politics. But I need to ask you as well, also, because a lot of the men who are watching this are probably thinking, okay, that's cool, you're able to refine yourself and improve yourself in different stages. But obviously, with all your successes and being in politics and so forth, I think a lot of men are probably asking or wondering, there had to be, along your journey, there had to be some hardships, there had to be some struggles. And so what were some of the things you found? Besides, I know you touched a little bit on it with the inauguration, but what were some of the struggles that you had to overcome, or some of the things that you knew, like, man, this is some hard times?
Yeah. University brought a whole lot out for me, hey bro, and so you know, there was this whole new world. But it was at university that I started to reflect on things that had happened in my life. I'd been a youth leader at church for a long time as well. We grew up, so once we'd finished from the AOG, I went to Otara Baptist and had the best time. And I was a youth leader at the time. But it was at university where I was being confronted with all these ideas. And being confronted with all the ideas helped me to acknowledge that things that happened in life that maybe I needed to deal with. And I think part of that refining process was I just started going through heaps of stuff. And so I was feeling really confused at university. And so we had a group called Pacific Students of Christ. And I think that's the group that's where I got to know Caroline so well, because she would come along. But it was in those years where I think someone was talking to me once, and I kind of realized that there was a lot of doubt. I carried a whole lot of doubt and a whole lot of non-belief in my own ability, and I never understood why. And it was at university that I got counselling, and someone said, "Oh, you should just go and see a counsellor." Whatever, it's free. I'll go and talk to someone. And those were the days when you go to see a counsellor, you're like a wacko. But it probably suited my personality, because I thought, well, I am a little bit itchy, so I went and saw the counsellor. And it was there that the counsellor helped me to understand that things that happened in my life as a child that had affected how I viewed the world and how I saw myself, and had affected the decisions that I'd made in life. And it was really confronting at the time, and I'm not sure, I'm kind of hoping you kind of know where I'm going, or what I'm trying to say in this, because it depends on the audience that you're going to. But when I was little, certain things happened in my life, and I look back on my life and I go, all my friends growing up were girls. And, people, they used to mock me in the old days. They'd always say, oh, yeah, auntie leo ka puainga and papapingi. And, because I'd always hang out with the girls. But what the counselling did later on in my life is help me understand that I had a very high distrust of men. And that because of what had happened when I was a child, I didn't realize that the way I was coping with it was to stay away from me. And I got lots of friends who were girls, and that's why they used to tease me saying, oh, Efeso's like a opinion. But I guess it was my way at the time of trying to understand what had happened and cope with what had happened. And so the unlocking that, and was a really difficult process. And even many years after, when I became a youth worker, I used to, youth workers get supervision. I still do supervision now as a politician. But many years later, people in that supervision, they helped me understand that I actually believed that I was dumb and worthless and useless. And that had come from feeling the guilt and the blame of something that happened when I was really little. And I couldn't believe how long, I still can't believe how much of an impact that had made on my life. And even today, there are times where there's real challenges and self-belief and whether I can do things. But it's my reminder that there's a lot of scars in the heart. And I'm grateful to the boys that stood beside me at the time who helped me to understand that it was okay. And one quick story, I had when I was at university, I used to hang out with the boys. And for the first time in my life while at university, one of the boys, the big boys, that all the girls were, they were chasing this particular guy. And we were out walking, and I was just explaining the counselling, and I don't think he realised what was going. And he held my hand. Honestly, I'm 6'4". I'm sitting down at the moment. I'm 6'4", about 80 kilos overweight. And we're walking on the water. Honestly, we're walking, and he reaches out and he holds my hand. It's the first time I've let a man with big hands hold my hand, and it was all part of slowly kind of shifting my distrust towards men. And this brother was the first person to say, I just want to hold your hand. I expect nothing else. That's it. There's going to be no favors requested. I want you to know that as your brother, I want you to know that I'm going to stand with you. So that's a very personal story, but I think sometimes there's a part of me that thinks that it's tough roads for a lot of people in leadership roles, and we have to somehow find ways to trust and confront and just slowly work through those things, because it shows that whilst I put on a front when I'm on TV, I think there's a very shy, broken man behind the image on TV, but one who's very loved. And my wife was around my time at that time, and I hope that's useful. I've tried to give it as vaguely but as pointedly as possible, because I know there's many men who may have either had that experience or have walking with other guys, and somehow or other we need to hold their hands, whether it's holding their hands physically or just letting them know we can talk about this stuff. I think is really.
Wow, that's powerful. Also, just the fact, and I can guarantee a lot of men will be kind of listening to this. And man, for you to say that, even right now, you're saying, even as you're in media and on TV, that you're saying that there's a perception that, oh, what a powerful brown man who's out there and just very intelligent. And like you were saying, that even whilst you're out there and speaking, there's still a vulnerability, that there's still brokenness there that you carry, and that's powerful. So I love what you said. You said that your friend who stood beside you, he grabbed your hand, and it got me thinking, who are your support people? Because it sounds like you have a lot of good support people behind you. But who are those support people, and why are they important to you, like specifically to you?
Definitely my wife. Fia started off as a really good friend at university, and then I was friends with a lot of people around her, but really I just wanted to be with her. But there's something about your wife, or that person who goes on to become your life partner, and they have this understanding of you that no one else kind of has, and maybe it's because we open our hearts to them a little bit more. So definitely Fia, and she knows all the sides of my story, and that's been really powerful for me. I got boys that I don't see regularly, but enough times in the year, because we all of us have families now. Everyone's really busy, but when we connect, there's guys who it's like there's been no time between the last occasion you called up, and those boys, they know me well. They're the ones I text when I need someone just to know that I'm feeling a little bit weird or odd or about to do something. I really like them to be aware or to pray for me. And so those are the guys that continue to stand beside me. And they're the ones with no judgment. They're fiercely loving and fiercely honest, but not judgmental. And I think that's you got to draw that line. I want people to be honest. I don't think you're a friend of mine if you just say, oh, so you're great, you're cool, you're really good on doing those things. When I get things wrong, my wife's very quick to tell me, yeah, these were the things that were great, and these are the areas that need improvement. And that's what I want in my life, because remember, I'm all about learning and honing skill. And if we can do that and be honest with one another, then we've got real friends. I think that's what we want in friends, just people to be honest. So yeah, I've got some. Well, I can name. There's 3 or 4 that come to mind. So not heaps, but there's a really tight knit group, and then there's a wider group that I get some advice from. But these are the ones that I will say everything to, and often they're the ones. To be completely honest, when there are still times where, granted the story I've just told, there was a serious bout of depression in my life, and so there are triggers where things are starting to get pretty bad, and when the triggers hit, we have a code that I just text to the boys, or they text. The code might be something like ice cream, because I really love ice cream, as you can see by my 80 kilos, but that's our code, and then they know, cool, we'll get in touch with Fes. And one of the things that's no good is I text ice cream once to one of the boys, and they turned up the next morning with donuts, and I think that's not what we're supposed to do, man. It's only going to add to our weight. But you know how it works, in the boys, because who knows what you're supposed to do, when cameras are following you. You just want your brother to know, I got you, man. And so as long as I can see them in my side of the line, then I know that the brothers are there, and we're okay, and they're standing with me. So that's there. They've been great for me.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
cool.
That's powerful. Thanks also for sharing that, man, because some of the stuff you're sharing is quite deep, and I know it's gonna really help men out there, and it's really encouraging. Just in terms of like, how do you identify that group, that inner circle that you can turn to? How do you identify them, and also like, how did you come up with that technique? Because some men, we didn't know how to reach out to other men, and when we have code words, it's like, yo, Cody's time, or got a box, and they'll turn up with the box, and then we drown our sorrows through like other means that may help. But like, how do you come up with your technique and identify that inner circle?
I've been fortunate in that a lot. These are boys that I studied with. So when I was at school, I haven't really taken on those friendships, because we all kind of went our separate ways. But the boys I met at university and part of Pacific Students for Christ, they're the ones that are still there today. And I think what's really helped also is that it's the time of the relationship. We've been friends for a long time. And then you kind of remember things that people like, or everyone that I studied with knows that I like ice cream, because I had issues, and that's why my diabetes is no good at the moment. And so it was an easy code for the boys to pick up. And I think you kind of work out slowly who are the ones that have been on the journey with you. But slowly I had to recognize, what my wife helped me understand was, sometimes we have to say what we're hoping for, or speak our expectations. And the boys know it, but sometimes you got to find words to help them say, okay, I'm going to do it. And so I've told the boys once, like years ago, that I said, man, I really need you to be honest with me. And that's all the line was. And then we went back to the driving range, or when I'm lucky, we might go to a Blues Chiefs game because we know the Chiefs are going to win, even though the Blues fluked the season that we've just had. And so, you know, all of those little things, and you spend a little bit of time, and then you just re-strengthen the codes, but we stay in touch a lot. And so I think you identify them because they're the people who you feel in your heart they're prepared to be honest with you. Hey, they'll talk to me. And yeah, if it is the box man and they've got to turn up with a dozen or whatever, then that's where it needs to start. Because I don't think we should get all spiritual about what the best thing is. Whatever the code is the code. And then you develop stuff out of that. And sometimes we just need to have a beer or something with each other, or a feed, and that gets it going. One thing I like to do is be a bit more active. So that's why we used to do the driving range, or meet up at the gym, because the only thing that I do at the gym is the rowing machine, because everyone else is here do weights, but I'm married and I'm happy and I don't have to prove how big my chest is anymore. Unlike Betty, I can tell you working on your shoulders, bro. But I think it's just really important that we get those little places, those little markers where we can say, yeah, let's chill, whether it's the rugby game, going along to one of our kids' sports games, catching up there, or meeting up at the gym. I think there's little places where we can really help the engagement.
That's so cool, man. That's so cool.
Awesome.
That's so cool, Whanana. Hey, Whanana, I don't know whether to kind of delve into this this question, because I know, because the last thing I want to do is kind of stay in the struggles and all that kind of stuff. But you sharing about your wife, and obviously she's a big part of your inspiration and support. But I did read in the Herald and about the threats, the bomb threats. And so yeah, and I'm so sorry that happened to you. So I hope you didn't want us going down this road. Is it okay? So just so sorry to in terms of that threat and all that kind of stuff. I read it on the Herald, and I was going through it when it came out. And so I'm just going to quote your words from the New Zealand Herald. And I like what you said here. You said, "I feel like my confidence has taken a dent, and I've had doubts around whether it's worth the safety of my family to continue in a political role." And then you say this, I quote this, it says, "I also felt that they would win if I changed my life." And for me, I'm like, wow, that's powerful. And so, can you tell us what was going through your mind throughout this whole ordeal, Efeso, and even saying those words, like you say, if I changed my life, they would win if I changed my life. Can you tell us what was happening and what's happening for you in terms of your mindset, your frame of mind? What was happening for you at that time? Because that's a big deal when like people are threatening you and your family.
Range of things going through my mind at the time, mate. When I waited a while before I made any public comment about the incident, only because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't saying 50 different things. I think that I'm cool being in this role. You understand it, you get a bit of thick skin, and people will say whatever they want to say, and that's kind of life. I saw it happen to my dad. But I think it took a turn when it became an issue for my family. And I think the rule in politics is kind of, you go for Efeso, or but you don't go after the family. And when that had happened and it was my family that was concerned, I think that's what created so much doubt and probably a whole lot of anger. Because I just think, mate, anyone who meets me, or this is what I like to think, anyone who meets me thinks, well, he's pretty relaxed. He's not as weird as he comes across a lot of the time, and all he wants to do is eat ice cream. And so I think people realize that I'm okay and cool, and I'm quite relaxed and happy to listen. But when that happened, I think it just made me think twice. It provided enough doubt for me to question whether this was something that we really believe God had called us to. And when I spoke to Fia about it, and we sat down, and both of us going through whatever our range of emotions were, at the end of that night, we said, bottom line is we believe, regardless of what's going on around us, God's called us to this. And so we'll just try our best to be steady and to be on our game. Actually, that was the night, that's what I'm talking about. I text the boys ice cream, and then one of them turns up the next day with these donuts, and I said, Toby, that's not what I'm after. But he was angry. He was more angry than me, because he was going, how can they do this to your family feast? And I said, yeah, but you work through it slowly, and I needed the time. I saw my supervisor straight away, and she read it in the paper as well, and it was wonderful. People were really supportive. But one of the thing, when it's your kids, different, it takes on a different guise. And she sent me the picture of hands and the caption was, "These are the hands of the Lord," and they had my girls in it. And I think that's what helped tilt me back upright again. Was that God loved us enough that this is His stuff. He's got to look after us, and we were confident that He would. But it takes its toll, bro. Even thinking about it now, I'm getting all emotional. But because I just think, if people want to take me on, do it. I'm a big man. But you can't take on some little kid who's defenseless. And that's the bit that really stirred the anger in my heart. And it took a while, probably still is something I'm dealing with, but we're not going to let go. If I still have the opportunity to speak up, for the homeless, speak up for those who are deprived, and just trying to make it for parents who are on their own, I know it's tough. And that's what I pray that people see, is when I speak, they think, yeah, that's that guy who always speaks for the poor, who wants to make sure that everyone's got a fair go and has enough support around them to be able to keep going. So, hard time, definitely something we're rethinking. The election's only a year away too. And so part of it is actually thinking, yep, okay, we're holding on at this stage, but what's the future going to look like? And that's something we seek the Lord on daily, just to make sure that we're okay, check in with one another, and feel like we're doing it. Yeah.
Man, that's awesome. Also, because I think with a lot of men, if that happened to them, I can imagine the initial reaction would be like, oh man, I'm just gonna retribution, I'm just gonna revenge, all that kind of stuff. Who is this person? Who is this? And for you to say that, and for the listeners to hear this and to see this, like, man, instead of you reacting, I love the fact that you were able just to respond, calm down, and say, okay, and really think about the whole incident. And I love it because I want to quote your wife as well. She seems like a very an amazing lady. And she quotes this in the New Zealand Herald. She says, "I know this is a call on our lives," and you just said it, a call on our lives, and so we have to accept to a certain extent the good, bad, and ugly. And this is the ugly part. But for us, we are grateful more than anything, as we get a sense that a lot of people are supporting us, and it means the world to us. And you've already mentioned it, for Anana. You mentioned the support and the people who have your back. And for your wife to say that, and you mentioned all that stuff, the bad and the ugly. That's part and parcel of being a politician. And for her to say that, and for you to say those things, that if I have changed my life, it's powerful. So it's powerful that you would not stoop low and go, hey, I'm just going to stuff the hell with this, or the heck with this. I'm out of here, and kind of give up. Because I think I'm pretty certain a lot of people think, oh no, I better change my line of work, I'm out of here. But for you to carry on shows and tells us that it takes a lot of courage, and for men out there who need to listen to this and watch this, like, man, if he's going through this, and regardless of the adversity, I can still push through and I can still carry on. And I love the fact you've done that, and with the support of your wife and your friends and ice cream. So awesome. Also, that's so cool, man.
Thanks. People don't think that we're not. This isn't something where we're not broken. Hey, I think you two aren't sharing tonight because I'm the one under the gun at the moment. But I can only imagine all of us in context go through experiences that they're hard, man. And that's what I mean by the difference in my life is it's public. Hey, people get an insight into it. But I'm just one example, and I think all of us have these kinds of experiences, but they're just different. And yeah, having those friends and that support group who just gonna love on you, I think makes all the difference. So yeah, it's hard listening to you, bro. I'm thinking, yeah, I'm getting upset again. So I'm glad that you talked and through that. But Charles, you can keep talking too, just while I recover.
No, man, that's awesome. I just shucks. Just the way you processed it too, and like, man, you're keeping your integrity through the whole process. And I bet you got your outlets where you get to, like, let off your some steam. But yeah, next time just give us a buzz and I'll call I know people that can make stuff happen now. Pete knows heaps of people. Just text Ice Cube and then we'll be there.
No, seriously, he does have fun. No, he does.
Oh no, you're on, bro. Yeah. I deal with a whole lot. Youth gangs is my research background, so don't worry. Hey, and they reached out too. I had different people saying, yeah, hey, we heard about what's going on. I'm like, oh man, see, community loves. Hey, and we got messages. I was getting messages from people in gangs, just a wide spectrum of people. And I think, yeah, this is a community. Yeah, we got major challenges out south, but these people love hard when it comes to families. And so we were amazed at the level of support, people just reaching out saying, man, Fess, whatever you need, we can come and be your security at your house. I was thinking, bro, if you guys turn up, we'll have the police, the Eagle Eye helicopter.
Oh, man. So I can imagine that it's going to be a while for you in terms of politics. Is that the plan now? Like in terms of the future, what lies ahead for you in terms of the future? What's next? Is it still going to be a long journey with being in politics, or you have something else in mind? Is there something else in the back of your head, or something you envision that you want to do in the future?
Yeah, I think there's always stuff, that might be beyond. I'm not sure that how much longer we'll be in politics. We're in it. We've got the election's only a year away. And remember, I could say, oh, yes, I plan to hang around for a long time. And everyone says, no, we're voting for someone else. And then I got to go to a new plan. So there's definitely one thing I do miss, bro, is the classroom. And I used to lecture, and I miss the classroom. I miss the ability to engage really closely with young people. I used to teach in teacher education, trainee teachers before they headed off into the schools. And I loved listening to them, listening to how they wanted to engage with young people and recognizing the responsibility that they had in teaching young minds and helping to develop young minds. And I approach it from the perspective of a parent, because I think, my wife is a trained high school teacher, but I think about my own girls, and I think one day they're going into a school, and my philosophy in teaching was I'll surrender them to that school for 6 or 8 hours a day to a teacher who's going to love my daughter the way I love her. And if we can have a teaching ethos that drives like that, then I think that's really important, especially when we're dealing with young minds. So we'll wait on the Lord and see where God's leading. But if I had a choice, at some stage, I'd love to go back to the classroom and back into that lecture theatre, because I love young people. I love how wacko some of their ideas are, how passionate and energetic they are. And I think we need a lot more of that. And I'm not in politics forever. Some people did that. That's cool for them. But I think it's important that I get out of the way. That I personally believe there are better young men, young women, young men who are better than me, who will be far more effective politicians than I can be. And I think my job is just to prepare some space for them, get out of the way, and let them take it to another level. And I think you've got to be secure to do that. You look at any form of leadership. I think too often you've got leaders who are so insecure. Hey, once they die, the whole vision dies with them because they've been leading the church for 1,000 years. And then everyone goes wayward with them. I pray that I'm going to be open at least to a succession plan where I can move aside and someone else comes in. And I'm not scared that they're or insecure that they be better than me. I think that's great, because we want to take it to another level. We want to lift the game, lift the staff, and that's going to exclude me. But that'll give me an opportunity to do something different.
Oh, that's awesome. I thought you might be a chance of you being the first Pacific Prime Minister also. I don't know, there was something down the line you were thinking, I don't know, it's like, oh, maybe, and you probably fit the bill, but obviously you're thinking of teaching and all that kind of stuff, which is even just as cool. So that's awesome. Charles, you would
Oh, shucks. The question. Oh, oh my gosh, it just went up my head. Sorry. Oh yeah, in terms of the platform of politics, what is your hope for men, your community, and some are Southsider, for Southside?
Yeah, for men, I hope that we're able to be good dads, good husbands, great providers. I think that's still something very close to our hearts, especially as island men who've grown up in South Auckland. So and feel like we've got lots to contribute. I think there's a real place for strong, godly leaders who are men. And we've got a place that we can hold, but let's remember that this is about partnership, how we work alongside one another, how we love someone. Yeah, but I don't want to. I don't know the Bible that, but if we're true to the scriptures that we profess, then Jesus loves the church. That the bridegroom is longing for his bride. And I think those are beautiful pictures of how we can treat women, how we can treat each other. So I want men to really flourish. And I still mentor. We've got a little Bible study group of guys who are a little bit younger than me. You know, I'm 30 and they're all about 28. And but it's good because that's our chance to check in with one another. How's your life as a dad? How's your life as a husband? I think for the community, I really want us to flourish, and I'm tired of all of the social issues that we have, and we've got us. I cry out to the Lord and say, man, why are the poor people all out south? Why are all of these struggles out south? And it reminds me of, remember when they said of Jesus, hey, nothing good will come out of Nazareth, and along comes Jesus, and I think there's real opportunity for us to be enthusiastic about what the opportunities are. So I want our community to thrive. And I think my role in politics is to facilitate the resource distribution and the discussions so that people out south in our community feel like someone's advocating for them. Because I think for too long, many of us haven't been housed adequately. We've got a high level of homelessness. We've got too many of our young people coming out of school. We've got way too many joining youth gangs. And what youth gangs does is fill the gap that we've left, as a society, as a church. I think the church has got to take some responsibility for this. Where are we? And so all of those things I'm really hopeful for.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Sure, also. I just got inspired.
Man, it's just golden nuggets. Man, there's a lot of golden nuggets. This evening, just so many good things you've talked about this evening. So awesome. Just one more question also. If you could give one sentence, and you probably already inspired a lot of men tonight, but if you could give one sentence or one phrase or even a quote of inspiration to impart to our viewers tonight, what would that be? If you just kind of throw in a nutshell, what would be the kind of the hook to say, hey, to inspire something you think that would inspire the men of this day and age?
I think, given the context of what I've shared about today, bro, is throw yourself at the things you're dreaming of. Is not to be held back by fear, but actually by the beauty and the glory of who we're designed to be. And if we can start to lean on the things that we're beautiful about, that we are talented in, then maybe that will help us overcome perhaps the fear or the insecurity or the pain that's been held deep in our hearts. And I look around me, man, and I see young people who have got amazing talent, and I'm positive, I'm really optimistic about our future, but we've got to harness it. And I want people to know that you got to play the game, learn the game, and then you can change the rules of the game. And that's how we're going to do it. And can I tell you, bro, one of the one thing that gave me the biggest head, and I thought I've made it in life, was when someone emailed me, and I was upset because they were of the team they were talking about, but that's all right, I can live with it. But I got an email from someone about a year ago, and they said, Efeso, we know you're a bit edgy and a bit weird and crazy and stuff, but for us in local government, you are our version of Carlos Spencer. Oh, honestly, mate, I had the biggest head, because all I was thinking was, man, that guy was amazing. He was that person in the Blues. People either loved him or hated him. Mate, the one time he'd try something different, get out of the structures a little bit, and chip kick. If it came off, it was amazing and spectacular. And if it didn't, it was the worst failure ever. And I think we need to encourage the Carlos Spencers of whatever the world is to feel like they can try things. And that's what I mean by throw yourself in. Give it a go. Yeah, the coach might get a little bit hacked off because you left the structures a little bit, but why not give something a go? Look at Quay Cooper. Hey, when they said to him, who's going to take the kick? Quay Cooper, and people are saying, oh my gosh, how could David really bring back Quay Cooper? He was amazing on the weekend. And I just think we've got to give people that space. Give them that time. They're a little bit crazy and weird, but if we invest in them, if we coach in a way where we admire and harness talent, South Auckland is the place to be. We should be leading in every statistic, because this is where real talent is grown and nurtured and harnessed, and now it's time to let it fly. So that's my encouragement to anyone. Go for it. Give it a go. Give it a try.
Man, absolutely. Also, that's so true. Absolutely, in terms of South Auckland. So, Carlos, you didn't mind being compared to King Carlos since he plays for the Blues? Was there someone else, the Chiefs, they could have compared you with?
Yeah, I'm.
Nah, there's no one there. Well, there's Donald, but when we lost all the other first fives, then.
Hey, he was the man when it came to the crunch time, Stephen Donald.
David McKenzie's come, right? At fullback there.
Man, but you're absolutely right. But now in terms of the talent and for not just the older men or older men, but also our young men. There's so much opportunities. There's so much for our men to kind of grasp and carry. So, man, awesome. So, thank you so much. So, listen, anything you want to add before we conclude this evening, Amos?
Nah, I just want to thank you for being courageous. And even though you've had some challenges, even from the get-go when you got sworn in, you had challenges, but for you to persevere through it, to carry our people, carry your family, and really hold your integrity through the whole thing, it brings so much hope for us that us men, us that are in the hood, us that are aspiring to create change, And I just really want to commend you and your family for, just being courageous and persevering, and we just continue to pray for you also. Love the work that you're doing. I hope there's because you talked about your mentoring, I hope there's some mentoring space for young ones like me to come into that space, and that that are really passionate about the things of our hood, and especially youth and youth gang. So yeah, I just really inspired. I'm so happy that I get to meet you in this space, and I just want to just keep on celebrating you and honoring you, and keep on praying for you too. Also, bless you.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah. First of all, just echo the words of Charles. Also, thank you so much for tonight. Thank you for just your time as well, for giving up your time to come out and have this interview. And so, what Charles was saying, we're very proud of you. Also, we're very proud of the work that you do. We're proud of the work that you do, not only in politics, but more so for our community, but also for the believers out there who are doing some great work. And so, you've done amazing things. And so, you are, and even if you don't even know it, even if you don't care, to you, for us, you're our older brother. And so, you represent. You're the flag carrier of our people, regardless if you're Tokelauans, Tongan Samoan. You're the face for our people, and so and you carry that with pride, and you carry that with a lot of mana, and so we're very proud of you. So and continue the great work, and long live your work that you do in politics, but also outside of caucus and also your family. So also, is there anyone else? Is there anyone that you think that could benefit, or that the men could benefit from in terms of being on the show? Do you know anyone that do you want to call out someone you think that could be ideal for the show, Whanana?
Yeah, I was thinking of Harry Toleafua. So I don't know if you know Harry. He works at the Samoan guy, works at the Mangere Community Law Centre, and he's on one of the local boards as well. So I think he'd be really good. He's come from out west too, so he's been saved because he's left Henderson and married a good Mangere girl, and so I think he's on the right track now. And he's someone I think that would be really useful to talk to.
Awesome. So Harry, if you're watching this also, please, we're gonna try to get a hold of you, or if you want to get a hold of us, that'd be awesome. It'd be awesome to hear from you. But thanks, Efeso, once again. Also, we have a gift for you. Every person that comes on the show, we kind of give them a gift. And so I did a bit of a sketch, kind of like a caricature of you. And we've just kind of, and so, excuse me if you see me kind of looking down and writing stuff. It's not because I'm not listening. It's because I'm trying to write down the things that we talked about and just kind of recap a lot of the things that you've said tonight. And so this is for you also.
Oh, wow. Thanks, bro. It's cool.
Cool, man. So whenever the labels go down, we'll be more than happy to drop it off to you also. So yeah, this is for you.
Yeah, thanks, bro. Wow, you're amazing. You're still amazing, eh? I remember all the things we used to do at church, and they'd play the music. Can you do the painting thing? Oh, this guy's amazing. Sure, bro. Thank you.
Thank you so much, also. Thank you so much. And as usual, also, before we go, Efeso, you have the last word.
And don't forget, it's refine, unlock, and take charge. Day.
Mandate.